right, how's it going? Welcome to Gonzo'S Sports Room, Friday, March 11th, 2022. Got a big show tonight. Got a special guest, AAMAN's joining us tonight. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Chris.
It's been a busy night in sports, especially if you're a basketball fan with the NBA and all this college basketball tournament.
It absolutely has been. Some crazy games have been going down already today.
Penn State guy getting carried to the locker room.
Oh
I didn't
boy.
see what happened. All right, have you been watching much of the college basketball today?
Today, yeah, I caught a couple of games earlier today. I've been watching it a lot this week, but earlier today, I watched the Duke Miami game. Duke finally pulled through. It looked very ropey for a minute. They didn't have a great game against Syracuse, and I was waiting for that big time performance, and this didn't come out. They pulled through when it mattered the most, but man, it looks ropey for Duke going into the later half of this month.
Yeah, they've come out a little flat. They've come out a little flat the last couple games.
Yeah.
Because Syracuse was missing Boheim, and
Hmm.
and still Syracuse almost beat them. And like you said, Miami uh, gave them everything they wanted.
Yeah.
Who does Duke play next?
So Duke will play the winner of North Carolina and Virginia Tech, and I think they're praying on everything Virginia Tech comes through with an upset tonight. Because if they come out the way they did against Syracuse and Miami, they are not going to beat UNC because
Uh,
UNC just showed some fight. I think when they got questioned again in that first game against Duke, UNC kind of flipped the switch. So if Duke comes out the same way they did, it's going to be a similar result to how Coach K finished his career in Cameron.
yeah, because UNC ended up beating them by what, like 10 or 12 that
It was a
game.
big time loss. Yeah. There was just nothing going for him.
Yeah, because Coach K was apologizing after the game to the
Yep.
fans, saying it was
Yeah.
unacceptable and stuff.
Yeah, I live in North Carolina, so I was in the middle. I'm 20 minutes from Duke campus, 20 minutes from Chapel Hill campus, so I saw all of it go crazy.
Do you think they can go all the way this year?
They've shown flashes to go all the way this year. Like I think up until the Carolina game, I thought this team was really legit. I thought they were going to be really hard to beat, and then recently, just they kind of come out flat. And I think I'm waiting for that kind of realization that, man, this is Coach K's last year to kind of come into them and kind of surge them, because you have Pablo, who's going to be a top 3 pick. AJ Griffin is showing himself, to be a very athletic big man for them, and then they have the 7-footer. I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's been an absolute beast for him. I think he had 16 points and 13 rebounds against Carolina in the loss. Had a great game for him. So if those 3 guys can really pick it up, and then also you have God, I can't remember this Duke roster for the life of me, but there's 4 guys on this team that can really flip the script on anybody. So they definitely have the talent to get there if everyone starts going. Wendell Moore is the one of the guys we're talking about. And then Mike Williams would be the big 7-footer that
Okay,
has
yeah,
played really well for him.
yeah. I watched a lot of the game against Syracuse. I didn't watch as much as the Miami game, but I was watching IU against Illinois because
Yeah.
I'm here in Indiana, like an hour and a half from Bloomington. But I've been an IU fan for a long time, and it was nice to see them finally get a big win. Them are the games that they usually find a way to lose at the end.
Yeah, they were able to pull through in the end, which was great. And again, they upset Illinois, and they're trying to punch their ticket into the NCAA championship as well. So, hopefully for you, Indiana gets all the way and gets to that
Yeah,
championship game.
I think with that win today, that at least guarantees them a spot in the
Yeah.
NCAA because
Mhm.
they were right there on the bubble. But getting 2 wins in a Big Ten tournament has to get. I think that solidifies their spot.
Oh, I agree. They definitely have to be in it. Again, you beat Illinois in there, and then if I think the 2 big wins here, and then if you keep winning, now you're just talking about seeding just to
And
keep
if
you
you
up.
look at their record, they've lost a lot of close games.
Yeah.
They've been competitive with almost everybody they played. They've lost a lot of 3 point games, and most of the time it's a turnover at the end or just something stupid. They always it seems like they find a way. But today they were finally able to hold on and win one. So, and I mean, they can be dangerous if a team like that gains some confidence. And with the defense they play, they could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, they're kind of similar to what Miami is almost, because they're just there's a bunch of seniors who they don't win flashy, but they win tough, they win gritty, and they win close. And if they lose close. And I feel like it's the same kind of thing with Indiana. They're a team that they're gonna scrap until the end, and they're gonna be right there no matter where you are, how good you are. They just find a way to contend with anybody. So Indiana, if they can get in the dance, they're gonna create some noise and cause some upsets and mess up some brackets.
Yeah, I think if they're a guard, they're one good guard away. If they had a real good guard to
Yeah.
go a wing, to go with Jackson Davis, that team would be, man, they'd be tough to stop. That's the only thing they're really missing, one a nice top guard.
Yeah, and even missing that again, they're going to be a problem in the tournament.
Oh yeah,
And having that wing piece would be really nice for him because it just expands the floor a little bit for him. I think they get a little bit congested at times, and that's where you see the
yep.
turnovers. They try to force something inside. If you could just spread it out a little bit, it'd be a real nice help for IU. But they've done real well with what they've got.
All right, let's move on to let's talk some NFL. What do you think about Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, the big news breaking out, right? That he's not going to face any criminal charges. So the trades are going to start rapid firing for Deshaun Watson. And I think it's going to be very similar, or I think the bare minimum is going to be what the Russell Wilson deal was. Because here's a kid who's, in his 20s, who's already proven that he's a top 5 quarterback when he's on the field. He's going to go for and demand a lot. And I think for Deshaun Watson, it's that no trade clause that's going to save him because there's a lot of teams that could just throw picks and throw money and throw players. But there are a lot of teams that I think are on Deshaun Watson's list. And to me, I've looked at it, and I know Carolina's a name that's come up a lot. Seattle's another name, and they obviously have the pieces for the Russell Wilson trade because, they traded Russell Wilson. But to me, I think Tampa and Pittsburgh are really interesting just because, Tampa has the kind of diverse coaching staff that he was looking for before he had to sit out the year when he was talking about Brian Flores with the Dolphins, Robert Saleh with the Jets. So they have that on there. The roster's there. And what Tampa could do is they could trade Chris Godwin. They could trade JPP, give up a couple first rounders, second rounders, and give up the backup quarterback and Blaine Gabbert and have that deal made for him. With Pittsburgh, that's interesting because, again, Brian Flores is there. They could be a team that can win. They need an offensive line, but they have that history of, diversity and have that inclusion that Deshaun Watson is looking for. So those two teams to me really stand out in mind. And I think Tampa to me would be the most intriguing one because if you go from Tom Brady to Deshaun Watson, I think as a Buccaneers fan, you're winning.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. I kind of think he's going to end up in Pittsburgh because of Flores being there, and then they need a quarterback bad. I wish he'd end up in Indianapolis, but I don't think we'd be on his list. And I don't see Houston wanting to get. They're not going to give him up in their division.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about the Colts here in a minute. That was something I forgot to write in the topics, but I don't know what the hell they're doing.
Man.
But no, and with him not facing no charges, he shouldn't face no penalty from the NFL, I wouldn't think, even though they've done their own investigation. But if the police couldn't find nothing, you wouldn't think they're going to have anything on him.
Yeah, but Goodell sometimes can be a little bit funny with it. The NFL can always be a little bit funny with it. And he still has to go and face, I think, there's still the 22 civil cases that he's going to have to deal with. So if something comes of that, he might have to face. I don't think he's going to see any suspension or anything like that. He might have to see some contract stuff go out there. But I don't think there should be anything going against Deshaun Watson here. And especially now that he's going to be able to play, teams are not going to hold back. They're throwing the kitchen sink at Deshaun Watson because they know if they get Deshaun Watson, they're going to be in contention. That's just going to be the case.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is where he's going to end up. I like Tampa, like you're saying, though. That'd be a good fit, a real good fit for him. Mm-hmm. And they have pieces they could trade away to get him.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I don't know if they could trade some, but they don't have a whole lot of pieces to trade, really. I think they do have some draft picks.
But it's a no trade clause that's going to help out Pittsburgh. If that's where Watson wants to go, he says, look, I'm not going anywhere except them. And now if you're Houston, you're kind of screwed because you're not going to get much out of them. And this is your only chance to get something. So you got to go. And so that's what's, I think, saving Deshaun Watson here is no matter what the price tag the Texans say, if you don't want to go there, you don't have to go there, which is, I think, the real blessing for Deshaun Watson. And whether it's Pittsburgh, whether it's Tampa, whether it's any other team that he wants to go to, they're clinging onto that no trade clause.
What if the Houston don't find a trade for him where he wants to go? Do you think he'll sit out instead of playing for Houston this season?
Yeah, I think he'll sit out because I don't think his value will decline. Again, he's still going to be 20 years old, and even though 20-some years old, and even though he's going to be 2 years out the league, when he was in the league, he was electric. It's not like he was mediocre and you could see the potential. He was there. He had arrived. They were just waiting for the Texans to kind of get with the program, and they couldn't. And teams are still going to make trades for him. They're still going to try to push. There's nothing slowing down. And again, if you're the Texans, now do you want to hold on to this salary for no reason? I don't think so. I think you want to go out there and at least try to get something for him.
Yeah.
I don't see the Texans not moving off of him, but if they don't, I don't think Deshaun Watson has any problem saying, all right, I'll take another year.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play there. I thought maybe Lovie Smith would have a chance to maybe talk him into it, but as long as he's held out and hasn't said anything, I think he's going somewhere.
And it really stemmed, I think, from the GM, right? I think that when they hired Nick Caserio, he was like, no, I don't. Why didn't you consult me? I didn't want that. And even though Lovie Smith's the coach, and I think he would want to play for Lovie Smith, I think as long as Nick Caserio is the GM, and he's a Patriots guy, so I can't hate on the guy. But as long as he's the GM, you're not going to get Deshaun Watson to play for you.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think he really has anything against Caserio. I think it was just it's the beef with the front office for not consulting with him.
Yep.
And from everything I've heard about that Caserio, it seems like he's pretty good at what he does.
Oh, he was good in New England. I was very disappointed when he left, but yeah, I think he's pretty decent at what he does. I think it's more of Deshaun saying, you hired him without asking me or at least consulting me. That's why I think he has a problem with Caserio. I think if they had just said, look, we're going to go get him, you okay with it? He would have been just fine in Houston.
All right, let's move on to the Colts. What do you think about the Colts trading Carson Wentz? I don't see what they're doing. He didn't play bad last year. He threw for like 27 or 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, one of the least amount of turnovers he's had in a long time. Yes, they played terrible the last 2 games, but it wasn't all on him. Our offensive line didn't play worth a crap. Defense didn't play very well either. But my whole thing is there's nobody out there that's better than Wentz. So you're trading them away, and you're going backwards. Maybe lateral if you can get like a Jimmy G or somebody like that, but I don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah, I really thought that Carson Wentz would work in Indy. I thought that Frank Reich could, revitalize his career, and I think I saw a report that Frank Reich went up to Irsay and kind of apologized for saying and vouching for Carson Wentz, and I think it was more of just the coaches and Carson Wentz didn't get along. I think there was something on the report I read that he didn't respond well to the coaching. There were things they didn't like about him because statistically he didn't play bad. He had one of his more efficient years. He didn't turn it over much. Again, he threw 5 picks in the last 2 games. So you're talking about, 7 of his interceptions. The majority of it came at the very end where, again, the whole team didn't really play well. There's not much that went right for Indy in those last 2 games. And they're kind of like Denver, where it's like you don't have that quarterback option. When you had the quarterback option in Andrew Luck, you didn't surround him. And now you have the team that could surround the QB that could get you to a Super Bowl. You don't have the quarterback. And as you said, Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a lateral, but you have to be able to go and get that trade done. Derek Carr is the name that's being brought up, but you have to be able to go and get that trade done. Unless you have that deal kind of in your back pocket, I just don't know what the Colts are doing, moving him. And again, unless that deal is pretty much already signed and it's just, okay, we got to make semantics work. But other than that, I don't really see the plan here from the Indianapolis Colts.
No, I'm scared they're going to end up with like somebody like Jordan Love or Marcus Mariota or somebody like that, because like you said, if they can't make a deal for Carr or Garoppolo, and then I've heard rumors about Cousins.
Yeah.
If you can't get one of them guys, there's not a whole lot of other options.
Yeah, Jordan Love was a name that was thrown around, and I was shocked by the report, and I want to see Jordan Love play. I do, because I don't think we can really know what he is until he sees the field, and I feel bad for him because it seems like Green Bay is content on just letting him sit there. But I was like, man, this team is ready to win, and you want to go there. I heard Jameis Winston talks, and again, that's just the big hope, and that's the problem. There's no assured answer. It's not like you got Russell Wilson, you got Aaron Rodgers. You're looking for hopefuls, and that's what Carson Wentz was. It was, we hope we can fix him. So do you just say Sam Ehlinger take it over, Jacob Eason take it over? Do you try drafting a kid? There's really no plan, it feels like, from this whole thing, because they've been one and done in quarterbacks back-to-back years, right? Phillip Rivers was a one and done. They passed on Tom Brady, said, no, we'll just take Phillip Rivers. And then we talk about Carson Wentz. Same thing again. I think a lot of us thought Carson could work.
Well, and the year before, Brissett played.
Yeah, there you go. So you're doing
like your 4th year in a row with a different quarterback.
And that's not a winning formula. Ask any team ever. You can't have any success, no matter how good your team is, if you got 4 different quarterbacks playing for you.
Yeah, that's why I thought they should have gave Wentz one more year, gave him another year that he had, and see how he done this year. But if there's reports that he's not getting along with the coaches and stuff, then I mean I can understand moving on. I know few of the players have came out and Darius Leonard, he came out and said, "Oh, my fifth season with the Colts and my fifth different quarterback," and thanked Wentz and stuff. And so I mean, he acted like him and Wentz got along good.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
you never know the truth behind a lot of that
yeah.
stuff.
There's just reports coming out, but Indy is it's gonna be interesting, and I feel for Colts fans because the division's there for the taking. It's really there. The Texans are not going to be good this year. The Jags are not going to be good this year. The Titans are hinging on
Tennessee,
Ryan Tannehill. If you could just and if you could get a competent quarterback, your team is better than every other team sitting there, and you could win the division. And again, you could really do some damage. So the Colts just have to find a way to get something competent. Otherwise, they're just going to be in another mess for another year.
yeah, I hope they have a plan because if you traded him without having a good idea who you were going to get, it don't you, man, you could end up in a bad situation.
And they didn't even get a quarterback back. They just got picks. They could have said, "Could you throw in Heineke? Could you could you just throw
Yeah,
someone our way at least so we have another guy we can work with?" Now you're just hoping that even if you don't get Garoppolo or Cousins or Carr, now you're saying hopefully we can go get Jameis Winston. Hopefully we can
yeah,
get Jordan Love. Hopefully, like that's a real big, that's a huge question mark, and that's a really scary thing to be going into.
yeah. Because if they would have got Heineke in that trade, then I wouldn't feel as bad because at least I know he's not that he's a great quarterback, but we've seen that he's a capable quarterback that can do all right.
Yeah.
So I feel a little better. At least he could be like a bridge guy until you get somebody. But from the reports, it didn't sound like Ellinger was just blowing the roof off in the practices last year, and you haven't heard good things about Easton either. Not enough good things that either one of them are going to take
Yeah.
over as starters.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
man,
just a bad spot, a bad spot all over.
hopefully they have a plan. I guess we'll find out here real soon. But man, yeah. As soon as I was actually on a show and I looked up and it said that they traded Wentz, I was like, "What are they doing?" But baseball, Major League Baseball, I'll tell you what, I didn't think we'd have Major League Baseball this
Me
year.
neither.
I thought the players were dug in, uh, and I didn't think the owners were going to budge either. So I thought this was going to be finally the time that the players held out and didn't. But the players got. I mean, it wasn't like the players lost. They got did get a few good things done by the strike, and they're still getting to play a complete season. So I think they got a pretty good deal out of it.
Yeah, it's good to see it back, and I think what's kind of saved MLB this year was that the 3 months where we didn't have baseball in 2020 due to COVID. I think the owners looked at that and said, "We cannot go through that again. We are fixing this, especially as everything's opening back up. We got to make sure we got baseball coming back in the summertime." I'm really excited about the 12-team playoff. I am so happy because I think that if the more teams you kind of throw in there, you don't want to let everyone in, right? But if you can kind of give it was four, right? I think it was like four teams in the playoffs,
Yeah,
which to me never made sense because now it's kind of like college football, the college football playoff. It's like, okay, you have two teams aside, but do you really have a playoff? It's you kind of know what you're dealing with. Now it's okay. Now you can have kind of that March Madness kind of feel where anything could happen, whether you're the 1 seed or the 12 seed, anything can come afoot. So I'm excited about that one.
yeah. Because I think it was what it was the 8 teams total, four on each side,
Yeah.
and now they moved it up to 12. So yeah, they added. Only thing is, I loved when they had the wild card play in games.
Hmm.
That one game to get in, man, them were always exciting games to watch, and them games seem to always be the ones that go in extra innings or come down to some crazy play. Them games are always fun to watch. All playoff games are fun to watch, but those just when you know it's win or get in like that, because like the other ones are all series. So until it gets to the game in the game that ends the series, you don't have as much tension. But when it's one game like that, win or go home, you get I don't know. Everybody just gives everything because they know if they don't, it's over.
Yeah. And I think also they have I think the first round will be like a best of 3, and then it'll like gradually progress into best of 7s, which are cool because now it's like you don't have kind of the leeway, and you still don't have to expand the season very long. That playoff games are always the most interesting to watch, right? Like we talk about the NFL playoff games, the divisional round playoff games were the best round playoff games I think I've ever seen in my life. So if you can find a way to add that into baseball, you get a lot more people tuning into baseball games because, to be honest, that's when more people watch it, right? That's when I watch baseball, is when the playoffs are on. I don't watch a lot of regular season baseball. When the playoffs are on, I'll tune in every now and again, having more of those games. And you can also now get more of your stars into the playoffs as well. A lot of times you don't see your big time players in there. Now you get some more in there. You drag the audiences in there. It'll be a really exciting time for baseball.
Yeah. See, I watch baseball every day. I watch almost every Reds game, but most of my friends and most people I know, they're like you. They don't watch baseball till the playoffs,
Yeah.
or unless we like get together and go to a game. But they're not gonna sit at home and watch it on TV.
Right.
But if there's a playoff game on, they'll sit and watch it. Basically, that's how I mean, a lot of your casual fans are like that with the NFL.
Yeah.
I know guys that don't watch much regular season, but as soon as it gets playoffs, hell, they're watching every game until the Super Bowl's over.
Yep. And they're exciting. So a little bit of correction here. It's 6 aside. So 12-team playoffs,
Okay.
so 6 aside.
Okay, so they added 2 more on each side.
Added 2 more on each side. Yep.
I like that. I'm glad that they done away with the when they hadn't done the universal DH.
Yep.
They did get that in, and then they're still talking about some other rule changes by 2023. And they went back to on the double headers. They're going to be 9-inning games. So I like that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The 7-inning double headers were kind of nice, but when you go down to 7, it takes a lot of the strategy with the pitching out because you might not even have to use your bullpen.
Yeah, and that's what I was kind of thinking. I was like, the 7 inning, at least like now I don't have to watch as much, but then you talk about for pure baseball, you take away the strategy because, okay, how many pitches do I let him? Do I keep going? And I think that's a very exciting part of baseball and something you don't get in football or basketball where you don't have to really worry. Okay, it's like if your quarterback had a limited number of throws, oh my God, he's reaching 30. Do I got to pull him now? Do I keep him going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting part of baseball. So when you're watching a doubleheader, you kind of lost that. So getting the 9 innings at least brings that level of, that's what makes baseball unique, and having that uniqueness there, I think, is very good for the game.
Yeah, because baseball's the only sport where you take out your best player and put at the most important time of the game and put somebody else in.
The first time I heard that, I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Coming from watching football and basketball, it's like, you put the ball in your best player's hands. And, again, it's something that brings you to it because when the game's close, then you're like, all right, who's pitching? Who's pitching? Are they going to change? And that's something, now that the 9 innings are back, now you really get to see that every single night.
Well, that's what I'm trying to explain because people say, oh, baseball boring. If you understand the game, it's not as boring.
Yeah.
Because baseball's a game of failure. I mean, it's the only game that you can play and hit the ball 30% of the time and you're considered great.
Right.
Hell, anything else below 50%, you're failing. Not baseball. You got 50% baseball, you're the best player in the league.
You're a god if you hit 50%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I coached a lot of little league teams, and that's what I'd always try to explain to him. Like one of my best players, he'd go on maybe strike out twice in a game or something, be all down on himself. I'm like, dude, the pros hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. You're not going to hit the ball every time. It's like, hell, as long as you're not up there watching strikes go by, if you strike out, you strike out, but at least you're swinging at it.
Yeah.
But you're not going to hit the ball every time. Especially like my son was like that. He'd get so mad if he didn't get a hit. And I'm like, dude, I said, you're a big St. Louis Cardinals fan. Go home and watch a baseball game and see how many hits your favorite player gets in the game.
Oh, man. Yeah, I remember I played 1 season of baseball. It wasn't very good. I only had 2 hits in, I think, 9 games, but I held on. I was like, you know what? Not many people hit the ball, so I'm okay with it. 2 hits, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird in that way, but I've always loved baseball. I've been a diehard Reds fan since I remember going to games when I was probably 5 or 6 years old with my dad and my grandpa. And hell, but the Reds, damn, they always suck anymore. They can't. we'll have pitching, then we have no offense, and then when we get hitting, then our pitching ain't worth a damn. So
Man,
we can't get it at the same time.
you're talking to a Boston Celtics fan. I know exactly what you mean. Nothing ever seems to work out at the right time. So
Speaking of NBA, you had a big matchup the other night. Brooklyn Nets at the 76ers. Harden playing against his old team. And I'll tell you what, the Nets came out to prove a point from the get go.
yep.
And I mean, they just blew the Sixers off the court. And Kyrie Irving locked James Harden up on the
Yeah.
defensive end. I haven't seen Kyrie Irving play defense like that in a long time.
Yeah. Last time I saw it was against Steph Curry in the NBA Finals. That's the last time I saw Kyrie really play defense. And I wish he would have played defense in Boston. Gosh darn it. But, that's another story for another time.
Oh, yeah. But do you think we learned anything from that game going forward?
I think we learned that the Nets got the right formula now, because I think before I didn't like the James Harden trade to Brooklyn. I thought something was going to implode. But now you talk about Seth Curry has been a guy that's really come on for them.
Yes.
And I was really surprised when the 76ers were willing to get rid of him. And I know that James Harden is James Harden, but Seth Curry has silently been averaging over 20 points a game. He's been a silent killer. He's a pure scorer. And then now you couple that with KD, with Kyrie, and then you can add Ben Simmons onto the floor to give you the defensive presence that you've needed this whole time. And if he can learn to hit a free throw, he's going to be a vital asset. The Nets, I think, got something right here, because you're going to get the defense there. Seth Curry's not a guy who needs the ball either. He's a catch and shoot. He's a lot like Klay Thompson in the sense that he can move around without the ball, and you just throw it to him, he's going to catch and shoot. Doesn't need a dribble. And that's what they needed. So that, I think the Nets, when you come out of that trade, you lose James Harden, but you gain a guy, I think, who fits a lot better with Kyrie and KD. Yeah, the Nets came out of it a much better side.
Oh yeah, I agree. The Nets definitely won that trade, because getting Simmons, they're always trashing on Simmons because he won't shoot the ball for three, especially 3-pointers. But he's basically to me he's a better Draymond Green, more athletic Draymond Green. He can get you assists, he can get you rebounds. He can lock up on defense, and you can play him he's big enough you can play him about anywhere.
Yep.
And he can run. Hell, he can run point, and he's going to be bigger than any other guard. And he can get. It's not like he can't get to the rim.
Yep.
He can score. He just isn't going to pull up for a lot of jumpers. And I don't know why he hasn't ever developed that. It's just, hell, they say that he works on it every year, but in the game he still never shoots the ball.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was like, every year they say, oh, he's fixed it. He's worked on the form. Okay, can I see you shoot one? I think the reason that a lot of people don't have been really down on Ben Simmons is I think this is the one time he passed up the dunk against Atlanta, I believe, right over the smaller Trae Young. They're saying, well, he was so afraid of getting fouled that he didn't even want to go up against the smaller Trae Young. Again, if he can get out of his own head and just play the 3 or even the 4, you're going to be just fine. Because again, you get him to play defense against whether it's Giannis, whether it's James. And I think that's something too. When you go into the playoffs and you play, say, a Milwaukee side where Giannis is going to be the focus, Kevin Durant guarded Giannis all of last year. Now you can add Ben Simmons to the rotation, and now you have that 3-pointer at the end of the game that KD isn't so fatigued. He can actually go and hit that shot. You know what I mean? So that's a huge win for the Nets.
Oh, yeah. And if you like during that game when they would go to the sideline and show Simmons, he looked happy. He was over there hanging out with all the guys talking. He looked a lot different than he did when he was in San Francisco or with the Sixers. He didn't look as I don't know, just didn't look as tensed up. He looked a lot more loose and in a better state of mind. And they said, I know he started practicing, so they'll get him back soon. And if New York changes their vaccine thing and Irving can start playing every game, then that's going to be a team you don't want to play in the playoffs.
Right, you got to watch out. And I think this would be the most entertaining 7-game series just because of the crowd. Because you're going to have the F Ben Simmons chance, you're going to have the F James Harden chance, you're going to have all of that. And I think if these two see each other in the playoffs, it'd be so much fun just because they're going to be so chirpy on the field. The fans are going to be chirpy. Everything's just going to be really hype. I'm praying that we get to see this matchup. For the 76ers, you're getting what we call James Harden big game illness where he doesn't show up. And, that's something you're going to have to deal with. You got two regular season players in Harden and Embiid, and the Nets have two postseason champions in Durant and Kyrie, and that's just the fact of it.
Yeah. I mean, we'll look at it. That game last night was built up as a big game.
Yep.
And Harden disappeared. He wasn't nowhere to be found. He couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Irving had him locked down. He just couldn't get nothing going.
Yeah, and this is fresh off everyone.
If that happens in the playoffs, the Sixers are going to be in trouble because Embiid's playing out of his mind, but he can't do it all.
That's the whole thing, right? It's like Embiid can't do it all, and they thought James Harden would fix everything, and everyone's talking about, they're the next Shaq and Kobe. It's all right, relax. Can we win something first?
Everybody got hyped up because they won a couple games, the first couple of games that he played, and he played good. Everybody thought that he had changed and everything. It's like he played 2 games.
This is a pattern too. We saw it in Houston. We saw it when he got to Brooklyn. He adjusted the game. He figured out how to not be a volume shooter, and he worked. Everyone's like, "Oh wow, look at this team!" And the same thing. And then he couldn't figure out how to do this thing he did when he first got there. And now in Philly, same thing. Oh well, look at this. It's Shaq and Kobe. And now they're like, "Oh well, maybe it's not Shaq and Kobe." It's just, I think it's like a fun house mirror when you hear people talk about James Harden. They just get too overhyped.
I think his body just wore out from carrying Houston all them years, all the shots he took and all that. He's not the same player anymore.
Again, I still think he can be a viable player.
I think he can be a good, viable player. I think he's kind of lost a little bit of his step. He's not as quick, and now it's easier for guys to D him up.
Yeah, and again, I don't think you can win taking as many shots as you take. I don't see any style of play where you can win being that volume and not having guys around you, be successful, not being a facilitator. So I never thought that style of play would ever win anything in the NBA. And again, I think he's got to find ways to adjust. It looks like he's starting to adjust in Philly. Will he continue to adjust? I don't know. His track record says no, but he says that he's happy in Philly. I don't know what to believe.
I just don't know if Philly has enough depth left. Yeah. I mean, because with Philly's depth situation, they're going to need Harden and Embiid to go off. Both of them go off every night. They can't afford for one of them to have a bad game.
And that's why I was really surprised at moving off of Seth Curry, because I thought he'd give you so much flexibility. If one of those two are not having a great game, Seth Curry can quietly give you 20 points a game and can be a guy you lean on. And the Nets are reaping the benefits of that. And I know that to move off of Simmons, you had to give up something. I was just really surprised they were willing to give up on Seth Curry.
Yeah, I think Seth Curry is one of them players he gets kind of disrespected. He don't get the credit for as good as he is.
Yeah,
he gets overlooked, and I know it's because he's Steph's brother.
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, when your brother's the best shooter on the planet, but damn, he's good too.
Yeah, he really worked on his game. At Duke, he wasn't anything impressive. He wasn't really anything impressive coming into the league, but over the past couple of years, you've seen him be a really big piece on a couple of really big teams. And there's no mystery of why when he's on a team, they find success. It's not a coincidence. There's a reason he's on successful teams, because they think they need him to win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's really stepped up this year, and you can tell he's been putting in a lot of work.
Yep.
Because he's gotten a lot better at getting to the rim as well. He's not just looking for jump shots. He'll go and attack the rim and get to the free throw line.
And again, that's another really big thing that I think that was kind of lacking in his game. He was kind of finesse. Everyone was kind of on him all the time. And we saw over the past couple of years, he started to develop, moving inside and shooting the mid-range shots. And now getting to the rim, getting to the line is something that I think his brother did exceptionally well for a very long time. When he needed to, he could just get to the rim. I think Seth said, let me just try to incorporate that. Let me try to adjust and see if I can bring that to my game. And it's in his bag now, and he's deploying it all over the place.
We talked about this on one of the other shows, but and the Suns get the respect that they deserve. I mean, you have the Suns made it to the finals last year, got beat, but then you still have people talking like they're going, they'll choke in the playoffs, be out first round. I don't see what people are crazy. That team's going to be tough for anybody to beat if they're healthy. But it seems like both those teams, they don't get really the respect that I think they should.
Yeah, and it's because they don't have a guy that's the name of Kevin Durant or LeBron James or Steph Curry. They don't have one of those guys. Devin Booker is a great player. He's I think probably a top 10 player in the NBA. That argument is 100% should be made, and I think you win that argument if you make that argument. And Miami, Jimmy Butler is an unsung hero, and they have a lot of really good pieces around Jimmy Butler and Hero and Duncan Robinson and Bam Adebayo. And there's great stuff going on tonight. Kyle Lowry has really stepped up in his first year in Miami. They have great pieces on both sides for both teams. But again, they just don't have that big time name that people are looking for. Phoenix has only lost 13 games. Like they've only lost 13 games. That's when you think about it, you're like, how only 13? Like this is if you take away the 73-9, the 72-10. You know, this team could be the third best regular season record ever, and no one is talking about them.
No, all they say is, "Oh, just wait till they get to the playoffs. They'll choke." It's like they got beat in the NBA Finals. It wasn't like they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and again, I know people are going to hold on to the belief that if there was a healthy Lakers team last year, they would have lost. And you know what? You can make that argument, but there wasn't. They beat whoever was in front of them. You can't hold that against them. They beat everybody at every stage up until the NBA Finals, where it took Giannis having a couple of 50-point games to beat them. This team has everything you need. You have your point guard in CP3. Devin Booker has emerged himself as a top scorer in the NBA, and they have the big man in the size in Ayton. Cam Johnson out of Chapel Hill has been really good for them. Bridges, very athletic wing guy who can spread it and bring it back in. They got all the pieces there, and the fact that people aren't giving them respect and talking about Memphis as a team that could slide and adds. Golden State should get their roses, but when they talk about Memphis over Phoenix, that to me is just mind-boggling. I can't fathom that one.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that the Heat and they don't get get the respect is about the same thing you said. Is they don't have that big superstar. They don't have that guy that a casual fan is going to know. A casual fan might not know who Devin Booker is.
Yeah.
Where I don't care if you're a basketball fan or not. You know who LeBron James is. You know who KD is. I mean that, and so I think that's part of it. I mean, yeah, they play in smaller markets, but I mean the way Devin Booker's been playing. If I'm the NBA, you got to make sure he's getting promoted where he becomes that superstar, because he's still young and he just keeps getting better.
He just better and better and better. And again, the Phoenix has everything to me that can win a championship. Again, we talk about everything defensively, offensively. They play really well together. And if Devin Booker's having an off night, well, don't worry, Cam Johnson can put up points. CP3 can put up points. Ain't can put up points. Bridges can put up points.
They almost beat the Bucks without Cam Johnson, without Devin Booker, and without Chris Paul.
Exactly.
They still almost beat the Bucks.
That's the kind of depth you have.
People still dog on Phoenix like, oh, they're not that good of a team. It's like, teams can barely beat them when they're playing their backups and don't have their depth.
And now I'm scared that if they say they lose in the Western Conference Finals or they lose in the NBA Finals, people say, "See, I told you." See what happened when they got to the playoffs. It's like, dog, they lost in the Western Conference Finals. They lost in the finals. Yeah. It's not like they got bounced in the first round. Someone's gonna say, it's like, look, they can do all they can in the regular season. They're not gonna. It's not gonna happen when it matters most. And you're like, you're joking, right? Like that. It's gonna happen if Phoenix loses, if Miami loses. It's just gonna happen. They're gonna see when playoff time comes, because people just want to believe what they want to believe, and they don't want to believe that these teams are better than the teams with LeBron James or KD or Steph Curry.
And it's like Jimmy Butler. He don't get the respect he should get for as good as he is. They just don't. I don't think the media cares for him for some of the stuff he'll say or whatever. But it just seems like he gets a bad rap for some reason. And ever since he's went to Miami, that team has just gotten better.
Man,
he's been good with the younger players. I mean, him and Hero became good friends, and he helped Hero a lot.
Yeah. I don't know why when Philly traded him, I said, what are you doing? This is the guy that fixes everything for you. He is a perfect two-way player. In terms of defensively, he'll give you everything he can every single night, every single possession. And offensively, he's not a guy who's like, okay, I'm just going to hold the ball the whole time. Spread it around, run it around. I'll take my shot. I can get to the rim. I can do a lot of different things. And he's that kind of, just that life. He just inserts life into that side. Miami could beat a lot of teams. And I know, Bam would probably get worked by Giannis, and that's going to be a really tough matchup for them. But again, like you said, gets along great with the younger players, puts up great points, plays great defense. That's just for some reason, no one wants to care about Jimmy Butler. No one wants to care about Devin Booker. No one wants to care about Chris Paul. And again, is it the smaller market thing? Is it the teams are historically not great? I don't know, but these teams are just overlooked. And I hope if this is the finals matchup, I'm not going to be upset.
No, I wouldn't be upset at all. But like Butler, everything I've seen, he's a good leader. I mean, he gets the team to gel together, and I think a lot of it is because he's not going to ask them to do something he isn't going to do, even though he's considered the star. He acts like he's just a normal guy, like they are.
Yeah.
And if damn it, can't think of his name now. Not Hero.
Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson. If he's on, he's a tough to beat.
Lights out, man. If he's on, it's again, the Klay Thompson comparisons were very well rushed. They were very rushed, but you could see the flashes of when he's on. It's like when Klay is in the third quarter. It's just boom, 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 boom. You're not going to stop him. Just get out the way.
All right. I think you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I'm good.
You got a website or anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I got a podcast.
Your shows and stuff.
It's called Aman Patel Sports News. So my name that you can see on screen, and then sports news at the end of it. I release episodes every week, basketball, football of all levels. And then if you got cricket fans out there, we talk about that. Some golf stuff comes in as well. So you should come check it out. Thank you so much, Chris, for letting me on, though. I had a great time.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. And you're welcome to come back anytime.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, man.